name's Laura Lemieux, and I live in Souk, British Columbia, which is on Vancouver Island, just outside of Victoria. Kodi and I met, he's 4.5, so I got him when he was about 9 weeks old. I actually met him on a motorcycle trip when he was 2 weeks old. And I went to visit the litter on the way home, so I actually held him at 2 weeks old. And that's when, right then and there, I wanted to have a combination dog bike. So, and then we just moved forward from there. And, I got him sort of socialized to the bike very young. And, we've been, other than a mishap, we've been riding ever since. So, and I've been riding since I was, I want to say about 17, 18 years old, like on the street. But prior to that, I'd ridden other things, but officially riding since I was about 17, 18.
What motorcycle do you and Kodi ride, and why?
Okay, so right now we're on a BMW F700GS, so it's an adventure, a dual sport. I've gone the whole gamut. When I started riding, bikes were more upright, like I had an old Suzuki GS 550, and so that over the years I wound up on cruisers, and somebody just said, "Have you tried a dual sport?" And I said, "No." So I went in and I tried it, and that was it, done. And because I didn't like you sort of sat back so much on a cruiser style. And so once I was on the dual sport, it made me feel more engaged with the bike again, feel the bike again. And now I won't go back. That's my bike forever now. So as long as I'm going to ride, that's what I'll have. So because it just made riding fun again. So, yeah.
What's the process you went through introducing Kodi to motorcycle riding?
When he first started, it was with a different product because of yours. I didn't even know about your stuff yet because I don't even know if it was available yet. And so I had a proper pet carrier on the bike, had him on it, and it just started off with very slow rides around the community. The first couple, because he was young, he was young. He was probably 3 months old when we started doing that, and a lot of howling, a lot of fussing. He didn't have his head out or anything. He could see out, but I didn't want him thinking he could escape. He was harnessed, of course. So short rides, but it didn't take very long. And I could see, I was watching the dog too, because I have a background in training them. And, if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it, right? I'm not going to do something unpleasant, but it became very apparent that he was enjoying it. And when I'd get stuff ready, he'd be like prancing and wanting to go. So as I saw the change in his behavior, then we just started riding and going, and he went everywhere. And with the different clubs I ride with and stuff, Kodi is a little fixture now too. So, so he's in all the photos, he's in all the group things, and he's also a service dog, but that's a different part of the other story. And so he can go everywhere with me too. He can go to national parks, he can go to restaurants, he's all proud of himself now. He can go everywhere. So that's nice too.
Is there anywhere that you and Kodi haven't been that you're planning to go together on the bike?
Yes. One of the things I'd like to do, and because of COVID, I usually go to the States, but I'm trying to look at some alternatives. And right now, I'd like to do Eastern Canada. I have never done that, but I have time constraints because I'm still working full time. So I'm looking at shipping the bike across to Ottawa from Victoria, Vancouver area, and then flying out with Kodi and jumping on the bike and then doing the east, like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. And if the States is open, I might drop down, do some of the upper states, and then drive back one way so it doesn't press me for time as bad. But that's one of the things I'm working on right now because of COVID. So just have to find some alternatives. I really like going to the States because on the west side here, I always go down to Lake Tahoe. I enjoy going to the national parks on the motorcycle and just, we have a whole string of volcanoes down here. You can go to all the volcanic national parks. So it's fun I like doing that kind of thing as well in the more remote not off-road, but off the beaten path type of roadways. I always look for alternative routes that aren't on the major highways. So see more stuff.
Do you do much off-road riding with Kodi?
Not off-road. Just I would. I do some gravel roads depending what I want to go look at and stuff. I have friends that are kind of hardcore on some. We got some really gnarly off-roads for dual sport bikes. I haven't done that yet because they're always telling me about all the repairs they're doing, and I really don't want to break my bike. So I'm like, no, I don't think so. And they're always talking about how their airbag vests have gone off and they've had to reset them. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
And what accessories do you have for Kodi when you're riding?
Okay, so Kodi, of course, has his pilly and pooch on the back. And if you want to ask me about how I mounted it, well, I can answer all that too. So I've got that on the back. I've made him a nice bed to go over the pad that's inside. He does share one of the corners. I've got a dry bag because you lose your tail bag, right? So anyway, so he knows he has to ride with some of my what I call my wet gear if it rains. So he's got the rain gear in with him, but it doesn't take up space. He has his own dedicated. I call them they're tank saddlebags because when you're traveling for like last trip I did prior to COVID was 19 days. We did 7,100 kilometers. Well, you got to be able to feed him. You got to have all of the water accessories. So he has dedicated panniers at the front over the tank that are just for his stuff. And he has everything from like he has warm weather jacket. He's harnessed in with a car grade harness. Everything that's got to do with keeping him safe is what you would put in your car to do the same thing. So it's quite a heavy harness, but that's to keep him secure. And like I say, a jacket for when it's cold. Sometimes it's really cold, so we use rough wear stuff. We really like that. And he's got a nice jacket it's like a fleecy kind of inside, but it's windproof on the outside. And he's got his goggles, very important because he likes to ride. He prefers the flap on the carrier to be open. And now that I've got the replacement one with the window, when it's really crummy out, it's great. When it's really inclement weather, and we've been through everything with this. So we've had the one trip we had hail, which hurts, snow, rain. Got to Mount Rushmore, and there was like this much snow, but it's wet, so who cares? High winds, and it didn't affect it. Sun and everything else, and he's fine, but he still prefers, even if it's really crummy out, he wants it rolled up, and I have special little clips I bought just to fold it, clip it, so he can just get his nose out. He also nuzzles me when he needs a break. He comes through and he goes womp in the back, and then I know he probably wants to go to the bathroom or something, so that's a more recent development. It's quite funny, but yeah, it's what he does, other than our Iron Man theme. So.
Yeah, do you want to tell us about your Iron Man theme?
Yes, Iron Man theme. So 2016 August, he was still just a pup, and I was with the different carrier because, like I said, I didn't know about yours yet. And coming home from a night ride, it was just getting dark, and there was deer everywhere. And so out here, that's a problem. So you ride slow, you ride careful, and I'd slowed right down, and came around a corner, little blur of motion on my windshield, but nothing, no chance. And I've had lots of close calls, never had a no-win. That was a no-win. So, and I just remember seeing the hair and just going, I thought two things. I thought, oh, crap, but I used a different word in my head. And that deer shouldn't have been there, so he was leaping. So, because my bike is quite high, and there's no way, they're not big deer here. They're big enough, and so the next thing I remember, I'm on the ground. My bike is God knows where, and I'm laying there, and there's a bunch of people telling me not to move, and I'm going, yeah, I'm not planning on trying to move, right? So two things: the right side, I broke all my ribs and crushed them all on the right. So I think because I used to play ice hockey, I likely turned into the deer like a hockey body check. I think that because that's probably what I would have done instinctively. The two things I was telling people, go find my dog because he was in his case completely enclosed. Somebody got him, said he's fine. That was no problem. And so he was good. He went to the vet the next morning. Friends came to get him. I wound up 3 weeks in the hospital, 4.5 months off work. I broke all my ribs, a collarbone, and a wrist. In the scheme of things, had to think if we'd been going faster, it would have been much worse. So that was fine. So got myself sorted out after I had to have major surgery to fix, plate all the ribs and stuff. Very determined to get my life back. Didn't know I was going to ride again. That part was sketchy. They had to cut my brand new Climb jacket off of me. I had brand new tires on my bike. I was like, oh gosh, like all my stuff, right? They're asking me, can we cut that off? And I'm like laying there thinking like, yeah, like what am I supposed to say? I'm in the trauma unit, right? And you can go ahead and cut my stuff off in big tears. So anyway, got myself recovered and back to work. And I remember going into the BMW dealership because you kind of miss your bikes and riding. And I went, I think, just when the new ones were rolling in for 2017. And the salesman I dealt with fairly frequently came over and he goes, you know what? He says, Laura, he put his hand on my shoulder. He says, there'll always be a bike here for you. He says, but you know what? He says, not this year. And that's from a salesman. I had a lot of respect for that. So anyway, I'm like, and I really didn't know what I was going to do, right? And it was a process. So by the spring of 2018, I had kind of worked things through. I didn't touch my wrecked equipment. Everything I had on that day was destroyed. Everything, right down to my boots and gloves. It did its job. So all I can say is to people, full coverage helmet, not a flip helmet because mine held, but just. And they're convenient and I liked it, but it almost didn't hold. And it would have torn my whole bottom of my face off. So equipment is like so important. It's like the biggest insurance policy you can have. And it's important. So I they were changing the bikes, BMW, they were rolling out their 750, 850 models. And the last F700 in Canada, I ordered sight unseen. I said, I'll take it. Then I wound up with that lovely red frame, black and gray. So got back on. My brother had come over for a visit and he laughed. He said, the last time I was here, I drove you home from the hospital and now I'm driving you to pick up your motorcycle. So he's like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. So we got there and picked it up. It felt like I hadn't been off, and then we got our Ironman theme. So I decided I needed a protector. So I have an Ironman helmet. Cody's got Ironman collar. I have my COVID is Ironman COVID mask. And that was just how I got my theme. But when I got back on, I got riding with my groups again. I think I'd worked through psychologically that it really hadn't been my fault. I hadn't done anything wrong. But it was about a 18-month process to work that through. It wasn't about proving anything. It was just, do you want to ride or not? And I definitely wanted to ride. So didn't have Kodi on yet. And that's when I'm starting to discover you guys and do an early adopter thing. And the first trip, he wound up staying in a kennel up here. And I took myself to LA because I figured if I could survive LA, I'll be fine. Visited family, came home like, yeah, it was fine. No worries. So then I just continued riding after that and then got your product, got it on. And he had no fear. As soon as he realized the bike was coming out for him, he was like, because I didn't know if he'd have any memory of sliding and nothing. He just wanted to be on the bike and go, and he was happy to be back on. And now we travel, and it's great. So, but yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Oh, that's an incredible story. But I'm so glad to hear you got back onto the bike, because a lot of people can't get past that after a bad accident. Yeah.
Well, and I'm in my 60s now, and it happened when I was, in my late 50s, and you're not as bounced back, it's a little tougher at that stage. But I also recognize that my accident could have been so much worse, and it wasn't. And, like I say, you just work through it. And I've had a job all my life where I've had to deal with a lot of stuff. I've been in law enforcement for 40 years now, which is scary to even say that. And I've always been able to just go, okay, that happened. It's sorted. Move on. And that, I didn't know that was going to work that way with the bike, but it did. And made sure, and part of getting your product was I want to make sure he had room and was as safe as he could possibly be, because nothing's 100% on a bike no matter what you do. And I also wear an airbag vest now. I don't go anywhere without it. So
how does that work?
Basically, you put it on. It's like an overvest. Oh, and on Climb, I got a free jacket from Climb because they had a program. If you told them about your accident and everything, they'd give you a brand new jacket. So I got a $900 Climb jacket for free from Climb.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, well, and someone told me about this program, and so I got a hold of them, and they're like, yeah, I told them it was great. So I got that. But yeah, so the airbag vest just goes over. It's and it's reflective, like it's bright yellow. And you've got these sort of areas where it will inflate. You have a CO2 container canister that's just mounted down on your side a little ways. And you got it on and you plug it into the clip that's on the bike, and that's attached to the frame or something that won't break. If you come off the bike, it separates it. I forget, it's just a fraction of a second, deploys the airbag, and it's designed to protect your spine. Probably my ribs wouldn't have broken. I mean, you could still break a leg, obviously, and stuff like that, but it's just designed to prevent the internal body damage and, the stuff that basically can really kill you. A leg might not kill you, but if you can't breathe and puncture both your lungs or something. So, and I find it comfortable. It's fine. It's just part of my equipment now that I wear. So, and a bunch of my friends showed up while I was still in recovery. They come to my house and look what we bought. They've got out because they're older too, and they said we're not going anywhere without these. And now, like I say, they go off in the bush and crash into trees and have to do. And it's nice you can reset it unless you actually damage it, you know. So, but yeah, so it's a good piece of equipment that I highly recommend, and I don't find it uncomfortable at all. So.
What advice would you give to somebody who was interested in riding with their dog?
Do the research. It depends on the size of the dog too, right? Like there's no way I would take Kodi on a trip crammed into a little bag, even though the one company makes a bag and it says up to 20 pounds and he's like 22, 25, but it's so uncomfortable. So I think you want to look at comfort for the dog. He can get up and I can feel him move sometimes. He gets up, he can turn around, lay down, he can sit up, he can look out. So it's that for me is huge. The dog has to be comfortable, not crammed into something. Safety was huge. So like the roll cage part and how it's all attached, and making sure you had, you got to do a lot of research to make sure you've done everything you can to put the right harness on, the right equipment, make sure he's warm. And then planning. I'm a planner, so you got to plan. You can't carry a bag of food, so you've got to plan for every single day. That you've got enough food on board with you, because, like I say, there's just even buying a half a bag. You've got no room for it. So it's planning. And now it's just I have lists, and he has his list, and I have my list, and we just get everything on the bike and go.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. Thanks, Laura. Could I just go back quickly to how you've mounted your pillion pooch?
Yes, that was an interesting experience. I phoned to have the bracket made, right? So I got a hold of one company near Victoria, and the guy was, $200 for consultation, and I have to make it. And by the time I got off the phone with him, he was about $1,000, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. So through friend. I got put onto a fellow locally who's a fabricator here, and he works on aluminum boats, and he does huge jobs. And he's, I would say, he's a fabricator artist, even though it's not for art. But it's one of those people that can see what they want to make, and he's a rider, and he has animals. He has dogs. So I went to see him, and he came to my house first, and he came in, looked at the bike. I showed him the product. And I said, I need this mounted here, but I didn't want it sitting back on the tail, far back. I didn't want that because it's just me. I don't have a passenger. So I said, I want this as close to me as I can have it, like a passenger for the balance. And I said, but my bags have to still be able to come off. I have to be able to open things, so we talked about it. He immediately saw what I wanted. And he says, oh no, he says, I know exactly what I'll do. We made an arrangement, went by. He literally had that bent and fabricated in 30 minutes, and he knew exactly and he measured everything. So then, but he still had finishing work to do on it, and he matched it up. So we had it brought forward and matched the mounting holes for the BMW tail bag. We left the brackets and everything on. He says, why not? That's what it's for. Attached it. But he said, before you attach, he says, I don't paint. So I took it off to a powder coat place, had it painted black, so it looks good. Brought it back, and then he helped me put it all on. And then I came home, finished putting all the top part. We put the basket on, and came home, finished putting it together. And it's great because I don't feel like he's tail heavy. I feel like I'm going to pop my wheels up or anything. And then with the weight up front when I'm carrying him, the bike is quite stable, and that's why. And I also think it's not as wind potential because I'm sitting right up there and the wind's going over my helmet. So I did everything I could to just assist with the aerodynamics of it. And I've never had any problems with it. And some of the winds I've been in, it doesn't matter if you've got something on the back or not. They're like, I've been in those kind of winds without it, and you get pushed all over the place. So no, it's been fine. Yep. And he hops up on the seat, hops right in. And I like that he can muzzle me if he wants to communicate. And if I go in somewhere, sometimes he has just enough room. He can step out and stand on the seat with front feet, but that's it. And that was a process just to get the hooks on the chain far enough where I wanted them that he could lay down, but not get too far. And so I was very specific with what I wanted to achieve in the mounting. And like I said, I wanted it more balanced as opposed to hanging at the back. And I found the guy to do it. Oh, and the price at the end of the day was $40 to powder coat it and $160 for including all the fabric and fabricating material and his time. Big difference from 1,000 to
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really really good price.
Yeah, so I was really lucky. I wouldn't have gone with the $1,000 guy because I thought it was ridiculous, but I was really lucky to get put onto this fellow, and it's because I volunteer in my community with the Citizens Patrol for law enforcement, and one of the guys I rode with said, "Oh, what about this guy?" And it's like, yep, that worked, and yeah, and I mean, it was great because he wanted codes to be safe too, and yeah, it's and I can clean under it. I can do all kinds of stuff. It's easy. So yeah.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one thing you love most about Kodi?
Best thing about this dog is his temperament. He's kind. He's easygoing. He'll bark at a dog, but it's because he wants to go play. He goes to my mom's care home and visits my mom and a bunch of the other people that are there. And I have 2 friends with reactive dogs. He's the only dog that can play with them, as he's got this personality and temperament that I've not seen before. So he's my pal. My cats sleep all over him. He loves his kitties, and yeah. So he's just this amazing, adaptive, kind little dog that just, he'll lean into you for snuggles, and and I'm not. Part of it's his personality. Part of it, I would like to think, is all like I socialized him a lot too, and no separation anxiety, nothing. He's just probably the night. I've had a few dogs in my life, but he's just different. I don't know how to explain it. He's just different, and yeah. So he's pretty cool little dude.
Thank you very much for chatting with me today, Laura and Kodi. Yeah. It was a pleasure to meet you both.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was nice to talk to you too. So it's good. Yeah, and I would really encourage people, like, for what it's, your product is nice, and it's and you've been excellent to deal with. And like we had, like with the cover, having to get a different one on. Yes, some things take time, but you never ever not followed through, and I really appreciated that. And always wanting to make everything 100% right, and that's to be respected. And like I say, I get lots of people asking about it. I don't know if anybody bought one, but I get asked all the time about it. So it's kind of fun.